Good afternoon, grade 10 students. For today, I am going to discuss the music of the 20th century for your quarter 1, week 1. So before we proceed with our main lesson for this afternoon, let me show you first the different composers who contributed to this music. Here we have Claude Debussy, Maurice Ravel. We also have here Arnold Schoenberg, Igor Stravinsky. If you notice, the spelling is different from the pronunciation of their names, but it is the right way on how to pronounce it. Okay? So we also have here Bela Bartok, Sergei Prokofiev, Francis Poulenc, and we also have here George Gershwin, Leonard Bernstein or Bernstein in other pronunciation. We also have here Philip Glass, Edgar Varese, Carl Stockhausen, and John Cage. Those are the composers that we are going to tackle as we go along for this lesson. Next, let us now define the first music style in the 20th century, which is the Impressionism. When we speak about Impressionism, it is a late 19th century and early 20th century, meaning to say it is in between the two centuries. It is an artistic movement that began as a loose association of Paris-based painters whose independent exhibitions brought them to prominence in the 1870s and 1880. So the very reason why there is an Impressionism music is because of a painting made by Claude Monet in 1872, and the title of that painting is Sunrise, an example of Impressionism art. Okay, so eto, makikita ninyo sa picture, alin ba yung tinutukoy kong painting? This one. Yan. Okay? Impressionism art. Let's proceed. Let's proceed to the next part. As with most artistic movements, the Impressionist movement in music was reaction to the previous era of music, namely the Romantic era. When you were in grade 9, it was discussed to you the Romantic era, in which the music of many composers is heavy and overly dramatic by comparison. So they come up with an idea to have another form of art or music style. That is why Impressionism has been made. Okay? Musical impressions form a transition from late Romantic music to the 20th century modernist music. Next. Musical Impressionism was based in France, and it is called as the French movement Impressionism. And the French composers Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel are generally considered to be the two great Impressionists. Okay? So they are known as the two great Impressionists. Their music style is what we call the Impressionism music. Dalawa na yan. They are Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel. Let's now proceed to the next part of our lesson, which is the characteristic of the Impressionist period. It conveys atmosphere and subtle emotion in contrast to the strong emotion expressed in the Romantic period, meaning to say it is far different from Romantic period. Okay? So, it is another characteristic wherein it is far from an intense emotion during romantic time. Okay? Characteristic of music of the Impressionist period. It is a departure from traditional major and minor harmonies to include the use of whole tone scales. Take note of that. Whole tone scales and advanced chromatic harmony and dissonance. When we say dissonance, walang pagkakatugma-tugma ng mga chords ang ginagamit para sa isang kanta. Walang tugma. Parang mailagay lang yung tunog. Okay? Next, another characteristic, a departure from traditional music such as symphony, concerto, and sonata in favor of the shorter musical forms such as the prelude, nocturne, and the song. When we say prelude, it is a concert piece for piano. Okay? And then, ano ba yung nabanggit natin kanina? The prelude. Take note of this word ha, yung prelude. Okay? It is a piece for piano. And then, we also have here the orchestration. Okay? What do we mean by orchestration? As a form of art in itself, it is the study or practice of writing music for an orchestra. Okay? Next, let's proceed to the next part. The characteristic of music of the Impressionist period, when it comes to rhythm, it is a strict sense of pulse and time are often absent, making the music sound much more free and explorative. Downbeats are no longer accented, as is usual in other period of music, and ascending rule is much subtle throughout the work of Impressionist composers. Take note of that. That will be the last characteristic of Impressionist music. Next, the important work by the Impressionist composers who are Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel. Here are the title of their song. La Mer, or in English, The Sea. Clair de Lune, in English, it is called as Moonlight. And the most popular made by Maurice Ravel, or the composition made by Maurice Ravel, is the Bolero. Okay? Next. We are now talking about the expressionism. Okay, let's talk about expressionism, which is known to be the other art forms. Melody was not absent during the 20th century. Melodic composition has been less important. It gave an extra form called expressionism. It is highly expressive from the word itself, expression. Express the stirred condition of the mind. And if Impressionism came from the French people, this time it is the reaction of the German to the Impressionism of the French. Okay? So German is for expressionism, French is for impressionism. Okay, here are the characteristics from simple meters to complex rhythms. Polyrhythm is when we say poly, different rhythms is given. And then polymeter, computer music, polyharmony or dissonant, polytonality, different tones. Expression is better performed with instrument than sung. Meaning to say, the music of expressionism is mostly instrumental, not vocal. Okay? Expressionism composers, new methods of compositions, new performance techniques, new concept of music theory, and tonality. More of an innovation eliminated the structure of key signature and more dissonant sound. Okay? Oh, when we say dissonant, no pattern, walang pagkakatugma-tugma. Next, here are the expressionism composers. The first one is the founder or the one who made the Claude tone technique. He is none other than that Arnold Schoenberg. Okay, an Austrian composer. He studied violin lesson at the age of 8, and then the counter lesson with Semlensky, and introduced him to Vienna style of music. He composed the Transfigured Night. It is the arrangement of 12 chromatic pitches, yung sinasabi natin 12 technique, 12 tone technique, in the series that provides the melodic and harmonic basis for music. Okay? So next, famous composition niya ay The Blessed Hand, Sleepwalker, and Perut Lunaire. Next tayo. Let us now proceed with the next part. Another composer who is Igor Stravinsky, a Russian composer, pianist, and a conductor. He came from the family of musicians, the father bass singer of the Imperial Opera. He studied law and philosophy at St. Petersburg University, meaning to say, aside from being a musician, he also studied other things, which is he studied law and philosophy. Korsakov, Russian composer, liked his composition and trained him in orchestration and became his advisor. Famous composition of Igor Stravinsky is The Rite of Spring, Oedipus Rex, and The Wedding. Let us now proceed with Neoclassicism. It is another music style. Was moderating factor between the emotional excess of the Romantic period and the violent impulses of the soul in Expressionism. It was in essence a partial return to an earlier style of writing, particularly the tightly knit form of the classical period, while combining tonal harmonies. It also adopted modern free use of the, what do you call by that one? I cannot see, sorry. Free use of the 7-note diatonic scale. Next, let's proceed. Sergei Prokofiev, regarded today as the combination of neoclassicist, nationalist, and avant-garde composer. His style is uniquely recognizable for its progressive technique, pulsating rhythms, melodic directness, and resolving dissonance. Okay? Next, let's proceed. One of the relatively few composers born into wealth and privileged social position, the neoclassicist Francis Poulenc. Meaning to say na pinanganak siyang mayaman. Okay? And now, let us talk about the avant-garde music. It is closely associated with electronic music. The avant-garde movement dealt with the parameters of the dimensions of sound in space. Take note of the word sound in space. Guhitan natin. Sound in space. Okay, take note of that. The avant-garde style exhibited a new attitude toward musical mobility. When we speak about musical mobility, guhitan ulit natin. It is the movement or the changes when it comes to music. Okay? Whereby the order of note groups could be varied so that musical continuity will be altered. When we say varied, there will be changes. Okay? And it could be altered. Improvisation was a necessity in this style, for the music score were not necessarily followed as written. For example, one could expect a piece to be read by a performer from left to right, or in others, take note of this, this could be done through vice versa. It could be right to left to right. It depends on someone who could expect to read it. Okay? Or the performer might turn the score over and go on dubbing indefinitely whatever order before returning to the starting point. Okay, that is the characteristic of avant-garde. Now, let us talk about a composer who is related to that kind of music style. And he is no other than but George Gershwin was born in New York to Russian Jewish immigrants. His older brother, Ira, was his artistic collaborator who wrote the lyrics of his songs. His first song was written in 1916 and his first Broadway musical is La La Lucille in 1990. Okay? So let's proceed to the next part. Let's now talk about Leonard Bernstein, 1918 to 1990. Born in Massachusetts, USA, Leonard endeared himself to his many followers as a charismatic conductor, pianist, composer, and lecturer, meaning to say he has a lot of role aside from being a musician. His big break came when he was asked to substitute for the ailing Bruno Walter in conducting the New York Philharmonic Orchestra in a concert on November 14, 1943. Nabigyan daw siya ng chance to become the conductor ni Bruno Walter. Okay? Next. The overnight success of this event started his reputation as a great interpreter of the classics as well as of the more complex works of Gustav Mahler. Okay, next na po tayo. Philip Glass is one of the most commonly successful minimalist composer who is also an avant-garde composer. He explored the territories of ballet, opera, theater, film, and even television jingles. Okay? So those are the important things he did during his time. Okay? His distinctive style involves cell-like phrases emanating from bright electronic sounds from keyboard that progress very slowly from one pattern to the next in a very repetitious fashion. When we say repetitious, nauulit or umuulit lang. Okay? Aided by soothing vocal effects and horn sounds, his music is often criticized as uneventful and shallow. Sabi, mababaw lang daw. Yet, startlingly effective for its hypnotic charm. Ibig sabihin, kahit na sinasabi ng iba na mababaw lang daw yung kanyang kanta, naniniwala pa rin daw siya na yun ay mayroong charm that can attract everyone who listens to his song. Okay? Next, let's now talk about the modern nationalism, a looser form of 20th century music development focused on nationalist composer and musical innovators who sought to combine modern techniques with folk materials. Take note of that too, modern techniques combination with folk materials, meaning to say, ang bago at luma ay pinagsama. However, this common ground stopped there, for the different breeds of the nationalists formed their own style of writing. Okay? Next. Let us now talk about the last part of our lesson, which is the electronic and chance music. Music that employs electronic musical instrument and technology in production is what we call electronic music. Okay? Technology has produced electronic music devices such as cassette tape recorders, compact disc or yung CD, and their variants, the video compact disc, yung mga VCD, and the digital video disc, the DVD. Yan yung mga naabutan natin before. Now, we have MP3 and MP4, okay, iPad, iPhone, karaoke players, mobile phones, and synthesizers. These all belong to what we call electronic music. Okay? So let's proceed to the next part. We also have here the music concrete. Okay? Music that uses the tape recorder. Okay? That is the term for music concrete. Music concrete, these sounds are arranged by the composers in different ways, like playing the tape recorder in its fastest move or in reverse. It could be fastest or the slowest. It depends on the composer who is going to arrange a song. Next. Music concrete, the composer is able to experiment with different sounds that cannot be produced by regular musical instruments. So meaning to say, this music concrete has something to do with experimentation. Okay? They have their own attacks on, or they have their own style in making or providing music. Okay? And the father of electronic music is Edgar Varese. Okay? Born on December 22, 1883 and died on November 6, 1965. An innovative French-born composer. And he is known as the father of electronic music. Take note of this, ha? His musical composition total around 50. Okay, next. Notable composition is the Burgundy. Okay? Only one of his early orchestral work to be properly performed in his lifetime but cause of scandal and riot. Posible na yung gawa niya ay nagdulot ng hindi maganda sa mga tao kaya nagkaroon ng riot. Next is Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. Okay? Born in Cologne, Germany in 1928, a central figure in the realm of electronic music. He's developed his style of total serialism. The climax of his compositional ambition came in 1977 when he announced the creation of Light, a 7-part opera, one for each day of the week. Meaning to say, yung Light ang pinaka naging dahilan ng pagsikat niya, yung tinatawag, announce the creation of Light. A gigantic ensemble of solo voices, solo instruments, solo dancers, choirs, orchestra, mimes, and electronics. Okay? Here are some of the notable compositions. Take note of those. And then Stockhausen works total around 31. Okay? Varese has 50, Stockhausen has 31. And last is the chance music. When we say about chance music, it is music created by chance and its realization is left to the performer, also known as aleatory music or chance-controlled music. It is a style wherein the piece always sounds different at every performance because of the random techniques. Bakit daw nagkakaroon ng different performance? Because of what they call the random techniques of production, including the use of ring modulators or natural elements or sounds that became part of the music. Okay? And the most popular composer is John Cage, born in Los Angeles, California, USA in September 5, 1912, and became one of the most original composers in the history of Western music. Creator of chance music, Cage influenced the development of modern music since the 1950s. He was considered more of musical philosopher than a composer. His musical composition total around 229. Ganong karaming nagawa niya. Cage died in New York City on August 12, 1992. So, thank you. That would end our discussion for this afternoon. I hope you were able to learn things for our lesson. And as you watch this video, you can be able to answer your module for your week 1. Thank you so much for listening. Keep safe, everybody. And if you do have questions, message me on our GC. That would be all. Thank you.